The midnight sky over Vuldrris, 7 burned with twin moons, casting silver shadows across the crystalline forest. Selene crouched in the den's entrance, her breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. Behind her, 3 Vuldrian cubs, creatures the galaxy called nightmare cats, but she called family, mewed softly in their nest of bioluminescent moss, she'd been warned. Everyone from the Terran Colonial Authority to the local trading posts had told her, don't interfere with indigenous predator species. Don't form attachments. Don't be stupid enough to think you can protect them. Selene had never been good at following rules. The cub's father, Kale, had left at dusk for a hunting run across the northern ridges. The massive Vuldrian alpha stood nearly 12 feet at the shoulder, his midnight black fur rippled with muscles that could tear through starship hull plating. His eyes glowed like molten gold, and his presence commanded respect from every creature in these woods, except, apparently, from the Kryn hunting party that now emerged from the tree line, that Selene's heart hammered as she counted them. 5 hunters in exosuits, their plasma rifles glinting in the moonlight. The Kryn were notorious across 17 systems for trophy hunting rare species. Vuldrian pelts fetched millions on black markets. Vuldrian cubs fetched even more from collectors who wanted exotic pets. Human, the lead hunter's voice crackled through his suit's external speakers, translated into rough galactic standard. Step aside. This doesn't concern your kind. Selene stood straighter, her unarmed human frame suddenly feeling painfully small. She wore only her research jumpsuit and boots. No weapons, no armor, no backup. But she planted her feet wide and raised her chin. You're not touching them. The Kryn leader's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Brave. Foolish, but brave. These creatures are worth more than your annual salary. Human. More than your life. Walk away. Behind her, the cubs whimpered. The smallest one, barely 2 weeks old, crawled toward her ankles seeking comfort. Selene felt its tiny claws prick through her jumpsuit, felt the trust in that simple gesture. I said no. The hunters exchanged glances. One of them laughed, a chittering sound that set Selene's teeth on edge. Humans, another hunter muttered. Always thinking they're special. Always thinking they're heroes. The lead hunter raised his rifle. Last chance. Move, or we move you. Selene's mind raced. She had no weapons, no way to call for help. The communication relay was kilometers away. Kale wouldn't return until dawn. The Colonial Authority wouldn't send help even if she could reach them. Vuldrians were classified as dangerous megafauna, not protected species. She was alone, but alone didn't mean helpless. You know what the funny thing is about humans? Selene said, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her veins. We're the only species in the galaxy stupid enough to fight impossible odds. We're the only ones crazy enough to stand between predators and prey when we're neither. She reached down slowly, picking up a jagged piece of crystalline rock. It felt pathetically inadequate in her hand. We're the only species that makes last stand sound like a good idea. The Kryn advanced. Selene threw the rock. It bounced harmlessly off an exosuit. She grabbed another, then another, pelting them uselessly as they spread out, trying to flank her. One hunter fired a warning shot that vaporized a tree trunk 5 meters to her left. Selene grabbed a fallen branch, wielding it like a club. It would do nothing against exosuits, but she swung anyway, catching one hunter across the faceplate hard enough to crack it. Her knuckles split against the reinforced polymer. Blood ran hot down her fingers. 2 hunters grabbed her arms, lifting her off her feet. She kicked, twisted, bit down on one's gauntlet hard enough to crack a tooth. They threw her against the den wall. Pain exploded through her ribs. The cub screamed. Selene dragged herself up, vision blurring. The hunters moved toward the nest. She threw herself at them again, clawing at joints in the exosuits, trying to find any weakness. A rifle butt caught her in the stomach, doubling her over. She couldn't breathe, couldn't see, but she kept moving, kept fighting, because that's what humans did. One hunter had reached the nest. He grabbed the smallest cub by the scruff, and its terrified cry pierced the night. Selene found her voice, raw and broken. Kale. The forest went silent. Then the ground began to shake. The Kryn hunters froze, their sensors suddenly screaming warnings. Through the trees came a sound like thunder wrapped in a predator's roar. a sound that made every creature in the forest remember why Vuldrians were apex predators on a planet full of killers. Kale exploded into the clearing that he moved like liquid death, covering 50 meters in 3 heartbeats. The first hunter died before he could raise his weapon. Kale's claws sheared through the exosuit like tissue paper. The second hunter fired wildly. Plasma bolts scorched the air, but Kale was already gone, appearing behind him with jaws that could crush starship struts. The hunter holding the cub dropped it and ran. Kale caught him in 2 bounds. Selene crawled to the cub, pulling it against her chest as the remaining hunters scattered. Kale hunted them through the crystalline trees with methodical fury. One by one, their screams cut short. When silence returned, Kale approached slowly, his golden eyes fixed on Selene, taking in her battered form, the blood on her face, the way she cradled his smallest cub. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Kale lowered his massive head, pressing his muzzle gently against Selene's shoulder. A deep rumble emanated from his chest, not a growl, but something softer. Recognition, gratitude, respect. Selene let out a shaky breath, tears finally falling. "Your kids," she whispered. I couldn't let them." Kale's rough tongue rasped across her bloodied knuckles, a gesture of bonding, of pack. The other cubs tumbled from the nest, crawling over both Selene and their father, muling their relief. Later, when colonial authorities arrived to investigate the distress beacon from the dead hunters' suits, they found Selene sleeping in the den, curled against Kale's massive flank with 3 cubs piled on top of her. Her injuries had been carefully tended with local medicinal plants. Kale's eyes tracked every movement the authorities made, a clear warning in their golden depths. The lead investigator, a grizzled Centaurian, stared at the scene for a long moment before quietly ordering his team to mark the case as predator defense, justified, and leave. "Humans," he muttered, shaking his head. "Absolutely insane." But as he left, he smiled, because sometimes insanity looked a lot like courage. And courage, it seemed, was a very human thing.